Hello everyone. So I'm back with a new playlist or a new series, and the topic is database concepts and SQL. Now this topic is good enough for both IP as well as computer science students of class 11 and 12. So I hope you have enjoyed my Python series for class 11 and 12, both for IP and computer science, and you're ready for a new set of topics, which is the database concepts and SQL. Okay, so what are we going to be learning in this particular video? The first video of this series is what exactly is a database system, the advantages of database system over a file processing system, DBMS and RDBMS, what are their full forms and what do they exactly mean? And what are the terms that we'll come across in an RDBMS? Now, what's a database system? Collection of records in a computerized manner. See, when I say collection of records, in earlier days, your records in school were handwritten in files, right? That kind of a system, I can't call it as a database system. When you say a system, it has to be a computerized system. So a system or a software that allows you to store a collection of records. It could be student records, teacher records, marks records, fee record, anything. Okay, so I'm telling you all these examples because it's related to school. So you can connect to it and it makes sense to you. So that's called a database system. Now, what's the advantages of a database system over a file processing system? Now, when I say a file processing system, I mean the manual system that was used in earlier days. One is, if you're using a database system, you can avoid redundancy. The word redundancy means duplication. Now, how can I avoid duplication? Now, for example, let's say I'm a student and I approach the college for admission. So what does the college do? Ask me my details, my name, my address, my telephone number, and a whole lot of details from me, right? And I get my admission. Now, when I go to the hostel section, they again ask me all the details, my name, my address, my telephone number. Don't you think this is repetition if it was done in a file or in a manual way? Whereas if you had a computerized way, it could be done only once and that could be shared among the hostel people as well as the academic section. So you can avoid duplication of data. That is what I mean by avoids redundancy. So using a computerized system or a database system allows us to avoid redundancy. Next, it controls inconsistency. Inconsistency means what? Let's say I actually change my address and I go to the hostel counter and I inform them that my address has changed, and they take the new let's say address from me and they replace it in their file. But I forget to do so with the academic section. So now when a letter regarding my attendance or regarding my result or whatever reaches my home, it's going to two different addresses. Academic section is going to send to my old address, whereas the hostel section will send it to my new address. Why? Because I made the correction only in the hostel section and forgot about the academic section. So what is happening? My data is inconsistent, is not the same across both the academic section as well as the hostel section. But if it was computerized, like I said in the first example, it's stored once and everybody is sharing it. So obviously any change that the hostel section makes in the database system will be reflected in the academic section also. So a database system allows us to control inconsistency. Next, it facilitates sharing of data that I already explained to you. That if I have the data centrally stored, my data can be used by the fee section, by the academic section, by the hostel section, by the principal, whoever wants to access my data. Clear? Okay. It ensures security. Means what? Now, when I was writing data in a file or in a book, okay, Where could I store it? Maximum, I could, keep it in a cupboard and lock the cupboard and things like that. But a database system can ensure security. You could protect your database or your data by means of username and password so that people cannot access it. That is what I mean by ensures security. You can lastly enforce standards. Means what? Let's assume the college or the school has a 5-digit admission number. Okay, and every student is given a unique admission number. Now, when I'm writing it in a book manually, there is a possibility that instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will never come across anything telling me it's an error because it's a manual way of doing it, right? But what happens in a database system? It is a computerized system. So the minute I put a 4-digit number, you could get an error message saying, please enter 5-digit number. Or the minute I repeat an admission number for the second student, it could say that, it's a duplicate admission number. All that kind of standards cannot be enforced when you're actually doing something manually or in a book. Is that clear? So these are the few advantages of a database or a computerized system over a manual file processing system. Clear? Okay, now we're coming to terms DBMS and RDBMS. DBMS stands for Database Management System, a software that can allow you to store, retrieve, access bulk amount of data. And there are various DBMS softwares. What is RDBMS? It stands for Relational Database Management System, which means it is a DBMS. That is, it will allow you to store bulk amount of data, retrieve bulk amount of data, access bulk amount of data. But here the data is going to be stored in a relation. A relation means a table. So a software that manages bulk amount of data, but the data is stored in tabular form. Such softwares are called RDBMS. And one such software is MySQL. So MySQL is an RDBMS because it's a software that allows you to store bulk amount of data, retrieve bulk amount of data, access bulk amount of data, and all this data is stored in a tabular manner. Okay, there are other RDBMS as well. Oracle is an RDBMS. Your, Microsoft Access is also an RDBMS. Why? It's storing bulk amount of data, that too in tabular form. Now, I've given you an example of a database and table. This circular thing that you see, it's a collection of tables. So that is what I call a database. So I have named my database as school. Now in the database called school, I have a tabular structure to store the teacher's detail. I have a tabular structure to store the student details. I have a tabular structure to store marks. So this is an RDBMS structure. Okay. Why? Because everything is stored in tabular form. Okay. Next, we have to learn certain terms that we use in an RDBMS. There are 10 terms that you need to know with respect to an RDBMS. The first one being relation. The word relation means a table. That means data stored in rows and columns. And if you look below here, you can definitely, let me assume that this is a table named as student. Okay. So the relation is student, and this is how the student table looks. So a relation is nothing but data stored in rows and columns. Now what's attributes? Okay, this, that means ADM-NO, name, class, roll NO, stream, Aadhaar NO. These are all attributes. That means columns of a table is referred to as an attribute. Coming to a tuple, each row is called, this is a tuple. Each row is called a tuple. This is a tuple. This is another tuple. So one entire record is called a tuple. So a row in a relation is called a tuple. Okay. So what is a relation? A relation is nothing but a table consisting of rows and columns. The column headings of your table is called the attribute, and every row of your table is called a tuple. Okay. So I hope the first three definitions, the terms are clear. Let's go to the next three. The next three is degree, cardinality, and domain. Now, what do you understand by degree? Degree basically stands for the number of attributes or the number of columns. Number of attributes. How many attributes do you see here on this particular screen? You see ADMNO, name, class, roll number, stream, and Aadhaar number. So what is the degree of this relation? Is 6. A very important question from exam point of view. Coming to cardinality. Cardinality stands for number of tuples. That is number of rows. How many rows do you see here? 4, not 5, children. The heading is not counted as a row of data. The row of data stands for a tuple. How many rows do you see here? 4. So the cardinality of this particular relation is 4. So what is degree? Degree is nothing but you count how many attributes or how many columns are there. That becomes your degree. In cardinality, count how many rows of data you have. That becomes your cardinality. Now, what's a domain? A domain is a range of values that a particular column can have. For example, in this scenario, I could not say that a name has a domain, but I can say class has a domain. In my school or in our school, we can have class, let's say from LKG to class 12. So that's the domain. That means a pool of values from where a particular column acquires its value. For example, let's say if you had a column called grade. Okay, one more column called grade. Okay, now that column called grade could have A, B, C, D, E, F. Beyond F, we don't have grades. So a pool of values. So A, B, C, D, E, F are a pool of values from which the column grade acquires its value. But let me tell you, the domain will not be necessary for every column. Now, when I say admission number, I could say the domain is now in my school, let's say it's a 4-digit number. The domain is any 4-digit number. So that's the range or the pool of values from where that particular column can acquire its value. Coming to stream, the domain for stream in my school probably is science and commerce. For some of you all, it could be science, commerce, and humanities. So that's the pool of values from where that particular column can acquire its values. Is that clear? Okay, so these are the 6, terms that we have learned. That is relation, a tuple, an attribute, degree, cardinality, and domain. Let's go to the next 3. The next 3 that we see are connected. It's candidate key, primary key, and alternate key. Okay, to explain this, let me assume, I'm assuming in your school, you must be having some, some head boy, head girl post or some student pupil leader post. So what happens? There are many candidates who stand for that post, right? So they are all candidates. But can all of them become the head boy? No. What happens is you choose one of them as the head boy, making it, choosing of any criteria in your school. So there were 4 candidates who applied for the post of head boy. So those are my candidates. Out of the 4 candidates, 1 person you made the head boy. So that's my primary key. And the remaining 3 candidates who did not become the head boy or the head girl becomes the alternate people or my alternate key. Understood? So you can have, so basically the sum of the primary key and the alternate key is the candidate key. Candidate is who all can become the head boy. Out of that, you chose 1 head boy, and the remaining candidate keys, which did not become the primary key or the head boy, becomes the alternate key. Okay, now let me tell you the definition of primary key first, because that's the main thing. You know, choosing who's the head boy, what's the criteria for the head boy is the main thing first here. So it could be a column or a combination of column. Okay, so primary key did not necessarily mean one column. It could be a column or a combination of column. Okay, which will help you to uniquely identify only one tuple from the relation or only one row from the relation. What do I mean by this? If I say roll number 2, won't roll number 2 exist in 11A, 11C, 11D if you have 12A, 10A, correct? So that's not a primary key because that's not going to be uniquely identifying one particular identity from this table. Okay, so what is a primary key? Something that can uniquely identify only one person or one entity from this particular table. Now, in this scenario, let's talk about admission number. When I say admission number 1001, will there be more than one person with that same admission number? No. So which means ADMNO can be considered under primary key. So ADMNO is a candidate to be the primary key. Let's talk about Aadhaar number. Can two students ever have the same Aadhaar number? No. So Aadhaar number can also be a candidate for the race of primary key. Let's talk about name. Can Amit, can Rohan, can Tara just identify one student? No, there could be so many Amits and Rohans and Taras in the school. So no. Let's talk about class. Can 11A identify only one student? No. When I say 11A, it will identify all the students of 11A. So more than one. So obviously that cannot be a candidate key. But if you talk about this combination, that is class along with roll number. Class 11A, roll number 2. How many students will you find there? 1. So that means a combination of class along with roll number can also be the candidate. So in this scenario, what are your candidates for the post of primary key? Admission number can be made the primary key. Class along with roll number, not class alone, not roll number alone, but a combination of class along with roll number and Aadhaar number. These could all become the primary key. So they are the candidate keys. Now, when we create this table, we decide out of these candidate keys, what is the column that I want to choose as a primary key. And let's assume I decided that ADMNO is going to be my primary key. So PK is just my short form. I decided among the 3 candidates that I have, ADMNO is going to be my primary key. Now, when ADMNO becomes the primary key, the other candidate keys, what are the other leftover candidate keys? Class along with roll number and Aadhaar number, they automatically become the alternate key. Okay. Now, let me tell you a common mistake made by students when they are defining an alternate key. They say columns that are not primary key is the alternate key. Now, this definition is completely wrong because, for example, stream. Stream is a column that is not a primary key, but that doesn't make it an alternate key. Candidate keys, which is not chosen as a primary key, becomes the alternate key. Okay, so be very careful about how you give your definitions. And the last term that we need to know in terms of the RDBMS is called the foreign key. But now to explain to you foreign key, it is important for me to show you 2 tables. Okay, so let's assume I have 2 tables. I've just slightly shifted from the student table to an employee kind of a table. Now this table is called the DEPT table or the department table, and this table is named the EMP table. Okay, now I want all of you all to look at the EMP table, and can you actually tell me in which department Rohan belongs to? Now you might say department 30. No, I'm talking about the name of his department. So what would you do? You would take 30 from here, go to the DEPT table, Locate the DEPT number as 30. And what's the name corresponding to 30? Sales. So you would say that Rohan is in the sales department. And you would say Amit is in the accounts department. Correct? And you would say Tara is also in the sales department. And you would say Pooja is in the IT department. Why? Because this column called DEPTNO help you to connect to this column called DEPTNO in the DEPT table from where you got the DEPT name. So this column here is called the foreign key. Now listen to the definition. A column of a table. So DEPTNO is a column of a table. A column of a table which connects you to another table, okay, is called the foreign key. Technically, the definition says a column of a table which is the primary key of another table. Now look at the foreign key table, sorry, the DEPT table. We have three headings: DEPTNO, department name, and location. Do you agree department number 10 or 20 would ever get repeated in the DEPT table? Will there be more than one department with the department number as 10? No. So which means what? In this table, this is the primary key, correct? That's unique. So what is happening? This column called DEPTNO in the EMP table, do you think it's unique? No. Can you see two people with the same department number? So here, it's not the primary key. Here, the primary key is this. Let's say employee number. So what's a foreign key? A column of a table, which will be the primary key of another table. So you have the DEPTNO column of the EMP table, which is helping you to connect to a table called EMP. Basically, the common column in both the tables. But remember, a foreign key can be repeated. A primary key cannot be repeated. So you will not say DEPTNO of DEPT table is the foreign key. Why? Because you will never see repetition there. So the DEPTNO column of the EMP table becomes the foreign key of the EMP table, because it's that column that helps me to link to DEPT table. And this DEPT table is basically your parent table, and this EMP table is your child table. Why do I say so? Because if I'm going to put some person in a department called 10, then do you agree with me that a department called 10 should exist? Correct? Otherwise, putting somebody in department 10 without department 10 existing doesn't make sense, which means the parent table exists first, and based on the parent table, we create the child table. So basically, how do you identify a foreign key? Is you look at both the tables and you identify which is a common column. Okay, so we understood DEPTNO is a common column. Then you need to identify which is parent and child, because remember that the foreign key column will always be in the child table and not in the parent table. So we know that EMP table must be created after DEPT table is created for it to be logically right. So DEPTNO of the EMP table becomes the foreign key of the EMP table. Is that clear? So I hope all the 10 terms, you understood what a database system is. You understood, what are the advantages of using a computerized database system, and you have learned all the 10 terms that is used with a DBMS. Is that clear? Okay. In the next video, what we will do is we will start learning something called SQL. Now you must have partially heard something called MySQL, but I told you it's an RDBMS. Yes. So to work with MySQL, we need to learn a language called the SQL, and that is what the next video onwards will be. So I hope everything is clear. And if you realize that, it has added value to your already existing knowledge bank, please don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Okay. Thank you.